what exactly is an XML external entity. So what we have done, what exactly is XML, why XML is used to transmit data, what kind of structure an XML follows, what is external entity, what is internal entity. So this is a way we have break down this particular vulnerability for you. After that, we have a demo part as well. So without wasting time, let's get started. So very first question which everyone will have, what exactly is XML? So XML stands for Extensible Markup Language. It is a text-based format which is used to store and transport data, which is both human as well as a machine readable. As it is designed to store and transmit data. So this is one of the major methods through which we can transmit data or we can communicate with the server. So how it looks? So this is an example how exactly an XML file can look. So if you can see on the left side of the image, there is an library.xml file. So this is a particular structure for an XML document. So what is this? So simply, if you can see the library thing, so it is a root element which is used in the XML file, in which all the data has been stored or referred. Then there is a book element which we also can call as a child element of a library, and there are different other elements like title, author, year, price, and everything. So with that, we also have an attribute called currency, which is used to denote a exact amount in the XML structure. So till now we have understood that XML is a kind of structure or a structured data which is used to transmit or used to communicate with data, as well as it is used to store some of the data on the server. So this is what exactly an XML is. But now, how will...
Sorry, Atharva. I think one more point I would like to add here. So for the guys who are familiar with JSON, for JSON format, but not XML. So XML is kind of like JSON. So before JSON, we had XML. So if you are familiar with the structure of JSON and if you compare it with XML, they are quite similar in a sense, because both stores values in a key pair format. But the other why JSON is popular nowadays, because it is lightweight and it don't has the extra things that XML has. But still we are seeing the applications which are outdated, or maybe which needs XML for processing. They are still using XML as their data transmit format. So yeah, start.
That's exactly. It is when the application is using a traditional format, it uses as a XML data, XML transmitted data. So with this, we have understood that what exactly an XML or a JSON file formats do. It's transmit and stores data on the server. So now what is the question, like how server validates this document? Like I can build any XML document and I can share it with server. Will it accept it? So no, that's not the thing. Server will accept it only in specific formats. So what I mean by validation? So validation means defining the format in which the server will accept the XML document. So the server validates the XML document using either DTD, that is document type definition, or XML schema. So these are the two major techniques through which the server understand what exact data is getting transmitted in our communication. So what exactly an XML document holds? So first of all, it should be well formed. So it should be a proper structure, means the elements, attributes, and everything should be properly set. Then second thing is about the validation. The validation can be done by DTD or by the schema. So these are the two techniques where the server validates whether the XML document is valid or not. So what exactly is DTD? What is exactly document type definition? So document type definition is nothing but it is a format or a structure of in which the XML transmits its data. And same goes with the schema. It is also the same thing, means like structure or a format in which the data is getting transmitted. It is an alternative for DTD. Now, there might be a question like, if there is a DTD, why you are using schema? Or is like,
Even I was wondering that question. So what is the difference between DTD and schema?
Yeah, so the main difference about the DTD and schema is like the DTD uses a traditional method in which it uses elements, attributes, and whatever components the traditional method had. Whereas in schema, it allows you to insert integers as well. Now, in DTD format, if you insert any kind of integer value, like suppose in the previous example, as I said, there was a currency thing in which the amount was mentioned. If that XML document is getting transmitted using DTD, that data will be shared in a string format. Whereas if that document is getting shared using schema, then it will be shared using integer. So the data types, so the main difference between the DTD and schema is like DTD doesn't support data types, whereas schema supports the data types. So there might be some of the issues if you use DTD for transmitting integer values.
That makes sense.
Okay. So further, I will just show how a DTD actually looks like. So as you can see in the figure, so there is a library.dtd file. This is an exact structure in which a DTD works. Now what is the PC data over here? As you can see after title, there is a called PC data. So it is also called as parse data. So whatever XML is getting, XML is transmitting, so it is getting parsed, and this parse data is always into the string format. That's why it uses a traditional method. And in the right side of the file, you can just see the XML file, which is similar to the DTD file. So like title, XML basics, and John Doe, everything has been used. Whereas in the schema part, as you can see, so there are the schema looks a kind of different and has a constructive loads, and it can be also showcased in the library.xml file. So, and the main extensions for both is like library.dtd for the DTD files, whereas the library.xsd for the schema. That's so till now what we have understood, like what exactly is XML, why XML is used to transmit data, and what server validates before accepting any kind of data in XML format. It uses DTD and schema. So till now the basics of how the data is getting transmitted might be cleared. So we will move forward and understand what is exactly entity. As it sounds, the vulnerability sounds XML External Entity. So what exactly is the entity? So an entity is an XML, is a placeholder that represents data. So in other words, you can say simple that the entity is used to refer or to store a particular value. It can be a variable, it can be a file which you are using to store some kind of data. So it can be, and it will be reflected once it is referred or once it is called. So this is what is exactly an entity. There are two types of entities. One is an internal entity and one is an external entity. So what is an internal entity? So an internal entity is defined directly into the DTD and it contains actual contents that can be used in the XML document. Like suppose you are defining some kind of entity within the DTD itself, in the DTD document, and that can be referred in the XML document and it can be showcased directly. It will be more clear once we get into the practical part. So, and one more thing, what is an external entity, which our main attack is based on, that is XML External Entity. So what is an external entity? The external entity calls content stored in the external files or resources. So how means it is not in the DTD itself, it is stored somewhere on the server or somewhere outside the particular file, and we are calling that file from it. So it is an external entity which we are calling, and that data is retrieved using a system keyword to specify an external resource. So from where we can call that file, so the system keyword is used to retrieve the file. So this is the basic difference. What is entity, what are the types of entities, and what is actually an internal entity, what is an external entity.
I actually had a question that regarding that I was going to ask you, but I think you explained it pretty well. Which is, I thought external might be there in this vulnerability name because it is calling out external server, and internal is like it is calling out internal thing. But as you clearly mentioned that internal means it is already mentioned in the document itself.
Yeah.
External means it is calling out a file or something and then taking the data and putting it in that XML. Okay, well done, nicely.
Thank you. So, so with this, I will give you some example about what is internal entity and what is external entity. So, in the left corner, you can see what exactly an input is getting to the application and what kind of response you can be expecting. So, this is an example of an internal entity. So, as you can see in the above example, the entity author is defined as John Doe. So as you can see over here, it is defined as John Doe in the DTD and gets replaced with this value when referred in the XML document using an author sign. So what is happening over here? Right now, the John Doe is one of the what you can say a string which is being stored in author entity. So when you call this author entity into the XML document, that is your and author sign, it will get you will get a response from a server something like that saying XML basics and John Doe direct in the author. So it is getting referred directly itself. So this is a basic example of what is internal entity. Now moving on to the external entity part. So this is an interesting thing and this is where our attack is based on. So what exactly happens over here? In the above example, the entity files uses the system keyword to call the external file data.txt. So as you can see, there is a entity, a variable defined that is file, and that is using a system keyword as well. In the internal entity, you might not be seeing this system keyword as we are not calling any file from the server, but we are only defining it or we are only storing the data over there. That's it. So system keyword is used to extract the external files stored on the server. So the content of the data.txt file, which is the external content. For the example, in the data.txt file, if there is any content visible, like this is an external content, this is a text message which will be stored in data.txt. So once you retrieve that file, you will the server will showcase what exactly data you are trying to capture. So it is received and inserted in the XML document when and file as we did in the internal entity part, where the and author was used to reflect the data. Over here, as we declare the file entity, we need to call a and file sign to execute the process and to retrieve the data. So this is a kind of example for what external entity actually is and how it works.